I'm standing in the parlor of Dorothy Thompson's Victorian home in Buckhead, Atlanta, watching my husband Michael hold his mother's cold hand for the last time, and I have no idea that in exactly 17 days, my entire world will collapse. The antique grandfather clock in the corner strikes 3 in the afternoon, its chime echoing through rooms filled with 30 years of family memories that never quite included me. Dorothy's eyes had closed for the final time at 2:47 p.m., and I'd been the one holding her other hand, the daughter-in-law she'd tolerated but never truly accepted. Michael's shoulders shake with silent sobs, and I reach out to comfort him, but something in his posture makes me hesitate. There's a distance in his grief that feels like more than just loss. Dorothy Thompson had ruled this family like a benevolent dictator for as long as I'd known the Thompsons, which was exactly 11 years, 3 months, and 6 days. Her diagnosis with stage 4 pancreatic cancer had come 9 months ago, and I'd moved into this house immediately to care for her, leaving behind my part-time job at the library and any semblance of the independent life I'd been trying to build. Michael would visit on weekends, his demanding position at Hartwell Financial Group in downtown Atlanta keeping him occupied Monday through Friday. We'd become more like healthcare partners than husband and wife, our conversations revolving around medication schedules, doctor appointments, and Dorothy's comfort. The intimacy we'd once shared had evaporated somewhere between morphine doses and hospice consultations. Now, as I watch Michael's sister Vanessa arrive from Charleston, her heels clicking authoritatively across the hardwood floors, I feel like an outsider at a family gathering I've attended for over a decade. Vanessa embraces Michael with the kind of fierce possession that makes me step back instinctively. She's always been a younger version of Dorothy, same steel spine, same way of looking through me rather than at me. "Mother loved you so much," she whispers to Michael, loud enough for me to hear, and the unspoken implication hangs in the air. But not as much as she loved us, her real family. I busy myself with calling the funeral home, coordinating with the pastor, making lists of relatives who need to be notified. It's what I do best, making myself useful, filling the spaces where emotion might otherwise demand attention. The funeral is scheduled for Saturday, giving us 4 days to arrange everything Dorothy had meticulously planned before her illness took her voice. She'd left detailed instructions in her will about flowers, music, the guest list, even the specific reading from Corinthians she wanted. She'd controlled her death as thoroughly as she'd controlled her life. Michael barely speaks to me during those 4 days. He sleeps in his childhood bedroom upstairs, while I remain in the guest room where I'd been staying during Dorothy's illness. When I try to talk to him about funeral arrangements, he nods distractedly, his phone constantly buzzing with messages he angles away from my view. I tell myself he's grieving, that everyone processes loss differently, that the distance between us is temporary. Saturday arrives with unseasonably warm weather for late October in Atlanta. The funeral home is packed with Dorothy's Garden Club members, her bridge partners, people from Covenant Presbyterian Church, where she'd been a deacon for 40 years, and colleagues from Michael's firm. I wear the black dress Dorothy once told me made me look appropriately somber, which I'd understood meant plain. I stand beside Michael at the receiving line, shaking hands with people who offer condolences that feel directed entirely at him. "Your mother was a remarkable woman," they say. "She was so proud of you." Nobody mentions our marriage, our lack of children, the life we were supposed to be building together. I'm decorative and functional, like the flower arrangements Dorothy specified. It's during the service, while Pastor Reynolds delivers the eulogy, that I notice her for the first time. She's sitting 3 rows back, a striking woman with natural curls framing her face, wearing a jewel-toned emerald dress that somehow seems both respectful and vibrantly alive in a sea of black. She's not crying like the other mourners. Instead, she's watching Michael with an intensity that makes my stomach twist. When our eyes meet accidentally, she doesn't look away with the embarrassment of a stranger caught staring. She holds my gaze with something that looks almost like pity, and then she smiles. It's a small, knowing smile that makes every instinct in my body scream danger. After the burial, back at Dorothy's house during the reception, I'm in the kitchen arranging cold cuts on serving platters when Vanessa comes in. "You've done a lovely job with everything," she says, her tone making it clear that arranging food is exactly the kind of contribution she'd expect from me. "Now that Mother's gone, what are your plans?" The question catches me off guard. "Plans?" I echo. She pours herself a generous glass of Dorothy's expensive whiskey. "Well, you'll be moving back to your own home, I assume. Michael will need to settle Mother's estate, sell this house. There's no reason for you to stay here anymore, is there? The dismissal is so casual it takes my breath away. I find Michael on the back porch, loosening his tie and staring at Dorothy's meticulously maintained garden. The roses she'd tended for decades are entering their final bloom before winter. Vanessa thinks we should move back home, I say carefully, sitting beside him on the wicker love seat where we'd had our first real conversation when he'd brought me here to meet his mother all those years ago. He doesn't look at me. That makes sense, he says flatly. There's no reason to stay. Something about the way he says it, the finality in his voice, makes me ask the question I've been avoiding. Michael, are we okay? The silence stretches so long I think he might not answer. Then he stands, putting physical distance between us. I don't know, Clara. I honestly don't know anymore. That night, after the last mourners leave and Vanessa returns to her hotel, I lie awake in the guest room listening to Michael move around the house. I hear him on the phone, his voice too low to make out words, but the tone unmistakably intimate. Whoever he's talking to makes him laugh, a sound I haven't heard from him in months. When I get up to use the bathroom around 2 a.m, I see light under his bedroom door and hear him whisper, I know. I miss you too. Soon. My hand hovers over the doorknob. I could open it. I could demand answers. Instead, I stand frozen in the hallway of my dead mother-in-law's house, unable to move, unable to breathe. The next morning, Michael is gone before I wake up. He's left a note on the kitchen counter. Stayed at the apartment. Need some space to process. We'll call you later. The apartment. We have a 2-bedroom condo in Midtown that we'd bought 6 years ago. The place we'd lived before Dorothy's illness consumed our lives. When had it become the apartment instead of home? When had space to process become code for something else entirely? I pick up my phone and call my best friend Jessica, the one person who's been telling me for months that something wasn't right. Jess, I say when she answers, my voice cracking for the first time since Dorothy died. I think my marriage is over, and I don't even know when it ended. What's the worst thing you could find in your husband's nightstand? I'm standing in our Midtown condo for the first time in 9 months, and the air smells like a stranger's cologne, something woody and expensive that Michael never wore before. He texted me this morning saying he had an important meeting, and I should pick up some of my things while he was out, and those words, pick up some of my things, landed like a physical blow because they implied I no longer lived here. The furniture is exactly where we left it, the abstract painting I chose for the living room still hanging above the sofa, but everything feels rearranged in ways I can't quite identify. There's a woman's earring on the coffee table, a single dangly gold hoop that definitely isn't mine. My hands start shaking before my brain fully processes what I'm seeing. Jessica had insisted on coming with me, and now I'm grateful because my legs feel like they might give out. She picks up the earring with 2 fingers like it's evidence at a crime scene. Clara, honey, we need to talk about what this means, she says gently, her pixie-cut blonde hair catching the morning light. But I'm already moving toward the bedroom, that instinct you get when you know you're about to find something that will change everything. The bed is made with different sheets, navy blue instead of the cream-colored ones we'd had. There's a scent here too, something floral and distinctly feminine, perfume that's seeped into the pillows. I open Michael's nightstand drawer looking for I don't know what, answers maybe, and that's when I find the phone. It's an older iPhone, not Michael's primary phone, the kind people keep as a backup or, in this case, as a secret. My hands are trembling so badly I almost drop it, but it's not password protected, which seems almost like an invitation. The text messages are all from one contact saved simply as A. Hundreds of messages going back 7 months, long before Dorothy's final decline. Can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again? She has no idea, does she? That last one was sent 3 days ago. 3 days ago, while I was arranging his mother's funeral. I scroll back further, my vision blurring with tears, and find photos. Her. The woman from the funeral in the emerald dress, but in these pictures she's wearing much less. Intimate photos that make it clear exactly what kind of relationship Michael has with A. Who is she? Jessica asks, and I realize I've been standing frozen for several minutes, my entire body numb. I scroll to find a name, any identifying information, and discover calendar entries. Dinner with Ayanna, meeting Ayanna at the Optimist, weekend getaway Savannah. He'd taken her to Savannah, the city where Michael proposed to me on the waterfront 8 years ago. The betrayal has layers, each one more devastating than the last. Her name is Ayanna. I hear myself say, my voice sounding like it's coming from underwater. And from these messages, she works at Hartwell Financial. In his department. Jessica's face goes pale. Clara, that's a fireable offense. If they're working together and having an affair, HR would. She stops when she sees my expression. I keep scrolling because apparently I'm a glutton for punishment, and I find emails too. Ayanna Mitchell, Senior Investment Analyst at Hartwell Financial Group. She has an MBA from Emory, graduated summa cum laude. She volunteers at a youth mentorship program. She runs marathons. She's 32 years old, 4 years younger than me. In her professional headshot, she's stunning, confident, everything I've never been. Michael's messages to her are nothing like how he talks to me. He's playful, passionate, attentive. You make me feel alive again, he wrote to her 6 months ago. Being with you reminds me who I used to be before I got trapped in obligation. Obligation. That's what I am. That's what our 11-year marriage has been reduced to. Jessica takes the phone from my hands before I can read more. We need to think strategically here, she says, her voice taking on the practical tone she uses when she's in problem-solving mode. She's a paralegal at a family law firm, and I can see her mind working through the implications. You have evidence of infidelity. George is a no-fault state, but this still matters for negotiations. The fact that she works for him, that's leverage. Corporate policies about workplace relationships, potential hostile work environment claims if other employees knew. But I can't think about lawyers and leverage. All I can think about is 7 months. 7 months of lies while I was caring for his dying mother. 7 months of him coming home on weekends, sleeping in separate rooms, barely speaking to me, and apparently rushing back to the city to be with her. The front door opens and we both freeze. Michael walks in, stopping short when he sees us. He's wearing a suit I don't recognize, expensive and perfectly tailored. The kind of suit a man wears when he's trying to impress someone new. His expression cycles through surprise, guilt, and then something that looks almost like relief. Clara, he says, and even the way he says my name sounds different, like he's addressing a business associate rather than his wife. I wasn't expecting you this early. Jessica holds up the phone between us like a weapon. We found your burner phone, you absolute coward. Want to explain yourself, or should we just forward all these messages to HR at Hartwell? Michael's face hardens in a way I've never seen before. He doesn't look embarrassed or apologetic. He looks annoyed, like we're inconveniencing him. Put the phone down, Jessica. This doesn't concern you. His voice is cold, corporate, the tone he uses with subordinates who've disappointed him. This absolutely concerns me, Jessica fires back. Clara is my best friend, and you're a cheating piece of. I stand up, cutting her off, because suddenly I need to hear it from him. I need to hear him say the words that will make this real. How long? I ask, my voice surprisingly steady. How long have you been sleeping with her? He looks at me directly for the first time in weeks, and there's no love in his eyes, no remorse, just exhaustion. Does it matter? Yes, I say, and I'm surprised by the firmness in my voice. Yes, it matters. How long have you been betraying me while I took care of your mother? While I put my entire life on hold? While I played the dutiful daughter-in-law at the funeral she planned to exclude me from even in death? Something flickers across Michael's face, maybe shame, but it's gone quickly. 6 months, he says, and I realize he's lying. The messages went back 7 months, but I don't correct him. What's 1 more month in the grand scheme of our ruined marriage? I met Ayanna when she transferred to our division. We were working late on the Morrison acquisition. We talked, really talked, for the first time in years. I felt like someone saw me. Not as Dorothy Thompson's son or as your husband, but as Michael. And what am I? I ask, my voice barely above a whisper. What have I been to you? Michael runs his hand through his hair, a gesture of frustration I know intimately. You've been exactly what my mother wanted you to be. Compliant. Accommodating. Safe. But Clara, I've been suffocating. Our marriage has been about obligation and appearances for years. You know it's true. The words hit like physical blows, but there's a terrible truth in them that I can't deny. When was the last time we laughed together? When was the last time we made love without it feeling like checking off a marital duty? When did we stop being partners and become actors playing roles in Dorothy's vision of a perfect family? But there's a difference between a marriage going stale and deliberately choosing to destroy it, isn't there? What would you do if the person you devoted your life to told you that you were just an obligation? I'm sitting in my car outside Hartwell Financial Group's sleek glass tower in downtown Atlanta, watching employees stream in for the morning shift, and I feel like I'm losing my mind. It's been 3 days since the confrontation at the condo, 3 days since Michael admitted he's been having an affair, and instead of falling apart completely, I found myself becoming something I don't recognize. Angry, determined, reckless. Jessica thinks I've lost it completely, but she's also sitting in the passenger seat wearing oversized sunglasses like we're in some kind of spy movie, so she's clearly an enabler. Last chance to back out, she says, but we both know I'm not backing out. I'd done my research. Ayanna Mitchell has a standing lunch reservation every Tuesday at a trendy farm-to-table restaurant called the Lawrence, just 2 blocks from Hartwell. She goes alone, orders the seasonal salad and iced tea, and works on her laptop for exactly 1 hour before heading back to the office. Michael's assistant had been incredibly forthcoming when I'd called yesterday pretending to be coordinating a surprise for Michael's department. People are so willing to share information when they think it's for something nice. I watch Ayanna exit the building at exactly 12:15, and my breath catches. In person, in daylight, she's even more striking than in photos. She's wearing a tailored burgundy pantsuit, her natural curls pulled back in a sophisticated style, and she walks with a confidence I've never possessed. Jessica grabs my arm. Clara, what exactly is the plan here? Are you going to confront her? Throw a drink in her face? Because while that would be satisfying, it's also assault. I don't have a plan. I just need to see her, talk to her, understand what made Michael choose her over 11 years of marriage. I need to know if she knew about me from the beginning, or if she's been lied to as well. I need to look into the eyes of the woman who's been sleeping with my husband and see if she feels any guilt at all. I get out of the car before I can change my mind, Jessica scrambling to follow, and we walk the 2 blocks to the Lawrence with me feeling like I'm marching toward my own execution. The restaurant is exactly the kind of place I'd expect someone like Ayanna to frequent, all exposed brick and Edison bulbs, locally sourced ingredients proudly displayed on chalkboard menus. The lunch crowd consisting of young professionals doing business over artisanal sandwiches. Ayanna sits at a corner table, already immersed in her laptop, a salad and iced tea positioned exactly as my research predicted. For a moment, I just stand there watching her, this woman who's dismantled my life without even trying. She's beautiful in a way I'm not, confident in a way I've never been, successful in a way I gave up pursuing when I married Michael and became the wife Dorothy Thompson required. Before I can overthink it, I walk directly to her table. She looks up, and her expression shifts from polite confusion to immediate recognition. She knows exactly who I am. Mrs. Thompson, she says, and her voice is warm, educated, with just a hint of a southern accent she's clearly worked to minimize. I wondered if you'd eventually find me. She gestures to the empty chair across from her. Would you like to sit down? The casual nature of her invitation infuriates me. This isn't how this confrontation was supposed to go. She's supposed to be flustered, guilty, caught. Instead, she's inviting me to join her like we're old friends meeting for lunch. I sit because my legs are shaking too badly to keep standing. Jessica hovers nearby, ready to intervene if this goes sideways. Ayanna closes her laptop, giving me her full attention, and I notice she's not wearing a ring, but has a delicate gold necklace with an initial charm. And that might stand for Ayanna, or might be a gift from Michael. How long have you known about me? I ask, my voice steadier than I feel. Ayanna takes a sip of her tea, considering her answer carefully. From the beginning. Michael told me on our 3rd date that he was married. He said you'd grown apart, that you were more like roommates than spouses, that you stayed together out of obligation to his mother. He said he was planning to ask for a divorce after she passed. The words hit me like a slap. Michael had been planning this, had been setting up his exit strategy while I was feeding his mother soup and administering morphine. And you believed him? I ask, hearing the bitterness in my voice. Or did you just not care? Ayanna's expression shifts, showing the first crack in her composure. I didn't just believe him, Mrs. Thompson. I researched. I'm an analyst, it's what I do. I know you were living separately for months, that your social media showed no couple photos in over a year, that according to every objective measure, your marriage was already over. Michael wasn't cheating on an active, loving relationship. He was finally ending something that had been dead for years. I want to throw my drink in her face. I want to scream that she doesn't get to rewrite my marriage into something convenient for her conscience. But there's a terrible truth in what she's saying that I can't ignore. Michael and I hadn't been happy for years. We'd been going through motions, living parallel lives that occasionally intersected for family obligations. I'd thrown myself into caring for Dorothy partly because it gave me purpose, something to do besides confront the emptiness of my marriage. You don't get to make yourself feel better by pretending I didn't exist, I say, and there are tears burning behind my eyes, but I refuse to let them fall in front of her. I was his wife. I dedicated years of my life to him and his family. You don't erase that by calling it roommates. Ayana leans forward, and for the first time, I see something that might be genuine remorse in her eyes. You're right. I don't get to erase your history with Michael, and I'm not trying to. But, Mrs. Thompson, can I ask you something honestly? When was the last time your husband looked at you the way he looks at me? When was the last time you two talked about dreams instead of obligations? When was the last time your marriage was about love instead of duty? The questions hurt because I don't have answers. Or worse, the answers prove her point. Years. It's been years since Michael and I were truly connected. We'd become a functional partnership focused on managing Dorothy's expectations and avoiding conflict. Do you love him? I ask, and I'm surprised to realize I genuinely want to know the answer. Ayana's expression softens in a way that makes her look younger, more vulnerable. Yes, I love him. I love his intelligence, his ambition, his sense of humor when he lets himself relax. I love the way he sees the world, the way he challenges me professionally. I love who he is when he's not trying to live up to someone else's expectations. She pauses, then adds quietly, and I think you used to love those things about him too, before his mother made him into someone else. The observation is so accurate it steals my breath. I had loved those things about Michael once, back when we were young and believed we could build a life on our own terms. But here's what I can't figure out. If a marriage dies slowly over years of neglect and obligation, who's really to blame when someone finally walks away? Is Ayana the villain for loving my husband? Or am I the villain for not noticing I'd already lost him? I'm standing in Vanessa Thompson's pristine Charleston townhouse, 3 hours after my surreal lunch with Ayana, because Michael's sister finally returned the 7 calls I've made since Dorothy's funeral. She's greeting me at the door like nothing unusual has happened, like she didn't just ghost me for a week while my marriage imploded. Her home is exactly like Dorothy's was, all antique furniture and family photos arranged to create an illusion of perfect Southern dynasty. There's not a single picture of me in any of the frames. I've been edited out of the Thompson family narrative before Michael even filed divorce papers. Vanessa offers me sweet tea with a smile that doesn't reach her eyes, and I know before she says a word that she's known about Ayana all along. I suppose Michael told you, Vanessa says, settling into a wingback chair that probably cost more than my first car. She's not even pretending to be surprised by my visit. Jessica had wanted to come, to act as my backup, but I needed to do this alone. I needed to look Vanessa in the eye and confirm what I already suspect, that the Thompson family has been conspiring behind my back since long before Dorothy took her last breath. Michael didn't tell me anything useful, I say, remaining standing because sitting would feel like accepting hospitality I don't want. But Ayana was remarkably forthcoming. She said Michael has been planning to divorce me for months. Did you know? Vanessa takes a delicate sip of her tea, and I can see Dorothy's influence in every calculated gesture. Darling, of course I knew. Michael is my baby brother. We talk about everything. The casual way she says it, like my life falling apart is just family gossip, makes my hands clench into fists. And you didn't think to mention it? You looked me in the eye at your mother's funeral, let me coordinate everything, let me play the grieving daughter-in-law, and you knew the entire time that my husband was planning to leave me. Vanessa sets down her tea with deliberate precision. What exactly was I supposed to say, Clara? Michael's personal life is his business. Besides, surely you must have known things weren't working. When did he tell you? I demand, and I can hear my voice rising, but I don't care anymore about being the polite, accommodating Clara everyone expects. When did Michael tell you he was having an affair? Vanessa sighs like I'm being terribly unreasonable. He introduced us to Ayana about 4 months ago. Brought her to my daughter's birthday party in June. She's lovely, Clara. Truly. Educated, sophisticated, ambitious. The kind of woman who can support Michael's career rather than hold him back. The words are designed to wound, and they succeed. Hold him back. As if devoting myself to caring for his ailing mother while he pursued his career was holding him back. Dorothy knew too, didn't she? I ask, and the pieces are clicking into place with devastating clarity. Vanessa's expression confirms it before she speaks. Mother met Ayana twice. She approved. The room tilts sideways, and I have to grip the mantle to steady myself. Dorothy, the woman I'd bathed and fed and medicated for 9 months, had met my replacement and given her blessing. While I was reading to her from her favorite passages of scripture, while I was holding her hand through the worst of the pain, she'd already welcomed the woman who would take my place. When? I whisper. When did she meet her? Vanessa stands, smoothing her skirt with practiced elegance. The first time was in March, when Mother's prognosis was still uncertain. Michael brought Ayanna for Sunday dinner. Mother said she reminded her of herself at that age. Driven, focused, not willing to settle for a life of mediocrity. The second time was in July, just weeks before Mother went into hospice. She gave them her blessing to be together after she was gone. I feel like I'm drowning, each revelation pulling me further under. And neither of you thought I deserved to know? I was living in that house, caring for her 24 hours a day, and she was planning my husband's next marriage. Oh, Clara. Vanessa's voice drips with condescension. You can't possibly be surprised. You were never really one of us. Mother tried, she truly did, but you never quite fit into the family. You're sweet, certainly, but you lack the sophistication, the ambition, the breeding that the Thompson name requires. Ayanna understands Michael's world in ways you never could. The mask of Southern politeness has slipped, revealing the contempt that's apparently been there all along. I think about every family dinner where I felt like an outsider, every decision made without consulting me, every subtle criticism Dorothy delivered with a smile. I'd thought I was being paranoid, oversensitive. Turns out I was just seeing clearly. The breeding the Thompson name requires, I repeat, and suddenly I'm laughing, a harsh sound that makes Vanessa flinch. Your mother was the daughter of a textile mill worker who married up and spent her entire life pretending she'd been born with a silver spoon. Your family's dynasty is 2 generations old and built on her social climbing and your father's business connections. But you're right about one thing. I don't fit because I never learned to be cruel enough to belong. Vanessa's face flushes with anger, her careful composure cracking. How dare you speak about my mother that way? She built this family into something respectable, something important. She built a prison, I say, and I'm walking toward the door because I can't be in this house another second. She built a cage of expectations and social obligations, and she trapped everyone in it. She trapped Michael into being someone he wasn't. She trapped you into being her clone, and she tried to trap me into being her servant. The only difference between us is that I'm finally breaking free. Vanessa follows me to the door, her heels clicking angrily on the hardwood. You think you're breaking free? Clara, you have nothing. No job, no career, no real friends outside that trashy paralegal you drag everywhere. Michael's attorneys will destroy you in divorce proceedings. You'll be lucky to get the car. I turn back at the door, and I'm smiling now, a real smile for the first time in days. You know what, Vanessa? You're probably right. Michael's attorneys probably will destroy me. I probably will end up with next to nothing financially. But here's what I'm walking away with that you'll never understand. I'm free. Free from your toxic family. Free from Dorothy's impossible standards. Free from pretending to be someone I'm not. And that's worth more than all the Thompson money and breeding in the world. I walk out, leaving Vanessa standing in her perfect house with her perfect furniture and her perfect contempt. And for the first time since Michael admitted his affair, I feel like I can actually breathe. But here's the thing about burning bridges. Sometimes you don't realize until afterwards that you've trapped yourself on an island with no way back. How do you rebuild a life when everyone you thought you could count on was actually working against you all along? I'm sitting in the leather chair across from Gerald Fitzpatrick, Dorothy Thompson's attorney for 37 years, and he's just said something that makes no sense. He's a distinguished man in his late 60s with silver hair and reading glasses perched on his nose. And he's repeating himself slowly, because apparently, I looked like I might faint. Mrs. Thompson, are you understanding what I'm telling you? You're named as a beneficiary in Dorothy's will. A substantial beneficiary. I shake my head because this has to be a mistake. Dorothy barely tolerated me. She certainly wouldn't leave me anything significant, especially not with Vanessa making it clear that I was never really family. Jessica, who insisted on coming to this meeting because you need a witness for everything now, is gripping my hand so tightly I'm losing circulation. Mr. Fitzpatrick adjusts his glasses and continues reading from the will, his voice taking on that formal tone lawyers use when delivering important news. To my daughter-in-law, Clara Marie Thompson, who devoted herself to my care in my final months with uncommon grace and dedication, I leave the property located at 428 Magnolia Lane, Atlanta, Georgia, along with all furnishings, contents, and associated assets, to have and to hold free and clear of any claims from my son Michael Thompson or any other parties. The Victorian house. Dorothy left me the Victorian house where I spent 9 months caring for her. The house worth at least $2 million in Buckhead's current market. There must be a mistake, I say, but even as the words leave my mouth, I'm remembering strange moments from Dorothy's last weeks. The way she'd grip my hand sometimes when I thought she was sleeping. The afternoon she made me sit beside her and said, "You're stronger than they think, Clara. Don't let them make you believe otherwise." I'd thought it was the morphine talking. "There's no mistake," Mr. Fitzpatrick assures me. Dorothy made this revision to her will approximately 6 weeks before her death. She was of completely sound mind. I have multiple witnesses to attest to that fact, and she made her intentions abundantly clear. She specifically stated that this bequest was in recognition of your care and service, and was not to be contested by other family members. Jessica makes a sound somewhere between a laugh and a scream. "Oh my God! Oh my God! Clara, do you understand what this means? Michael can't touch that house. It's yours. Completely yours." My mind is racing through implications. The house is worth a fortune, yes, but more than that, it's leverage. Michael and Vanessa grew up in that house. All of Dorothy's important possessions, her jewelry, her collections, her papers, everything is in that house. And Dorothy gave it to me. The woman who allegedly approved of Ayanna, who allegedly thought I wasn't good enough for the Thompson name, left me the family home. Why? Mr. Fitzpatrick clears his throat. There's more. I'm authorized to give you this letter, which Dorothy wrote to be opened only by you, only after her death, and only in private. He hands me a cream-colored envelope, sealed with wax, Dorothy's initials embossed in the seal. My hands shake as I take it. This is communication from beyond the grave, and knowing Dorothy, it's not going to be simple. "I'll need you to review the other provisions of the will," Mr. Fitzpatrick continues. "But the house is the most significant asset. Dorothy split the remainder of her estate, her financial accounts, investments, and life insurance, between Michael and Vanessa in equal shares. But the house, and this is crucial, is yours without condition or caveat." I'm barely listening because I'm staring at this envelope that feels like it weighs 1,000 pounds. We leave Mr. Fitzpatrick's office in a daze, Jessica practically vibrating with excitement beside me. "Clara, this is incredible. This is justice. This is karma. Dorothy Thompson just reached out from the grave and gave you the biggest middle finger to deliver to Michael and his horrible sister." She's practically dancing on the sidewalk outside the law office. But I'm numb, clutching this envelope and trying to understand why Dorothy would do this. If she approved of Ayanna, if she thought I wasn't good enough, why would she give me the house? Unless Vanessa lied. Unless Dorothy's approval of Ayanna wasn't as straightforward as Michael's sister claimed. We go to Jessica's apartment, because I can't face going back to the hotel where I've been staying since leaving Michael's condo, and I definitely can't go back to the Victorian house yet. Jessica pours us both wine even though it's only 3 in the afternoon, and she sits beside me on her couch as I finally break the wax seal on Dorothy's letter. The handwriting is shaky but unmistakably hers, the same elegant script she'd insisted I learn when she tried to teach me proper thank you note etiquette. "My dear Clara," it begins, and I have to stop because Dorothy never called me dear anything. She called me dear, the way Southern women do when they're about to insult you, but never my dear, with possession and affection. I read aloud so Jessica can hear, my voice shaking. "My dear Clara, if you are reading this, I have finally been freed from the prison of this failing body, and you have been freed from the obligation to care for me. I know you think I never appreciated your service, but you are wrong. I saw everything, your patience, your compassion, your strength. I saw you give up your own life to care for someone who was never kind to you, and that kind of character is rare." I have to stop to wipe my eyes. Jessica's crying too, mascara already running. "I know about Michael and Ayanna," Dorothy's letter continues. "I have known for months. When Michael brought her to meet me, I saw immediately what was happening, and I felt in my heart that this was wrong, but I was too weak and too proud to confront it properly." The letter goes on, and each word feels like Dorothy's voice speaking from somewhere beyond. "I raised Michael to value duty and appearance over authenticity, and I see now that was my greatest failure as a mother. I taught him to build a beautiful facade instead of a genuine life, and you have paid the price for my mistakes. The house is yours because you earned it through sacrifice I never would have made for anyone. What you do with it is your choice. Sell it, live in it, burn it down if you wish. But know that it represents my apology and my hope that you will build something real and true with the resources I'm giving you. You deserve a life that isn't lived in service to other people's expectations. For what it's worth, I'm sorry I couldn't be strong enough to tell you this while I lived. Respectfully, Dorothy. I sit in silence for a long moment, processing everything. Dorothy knew. She knew about the affair, she knew about the betrayal, and in her final weeks she'd chosen my side. Not openly, not in a way that would have caused family conflict while she was alive, but definitively in the one way that mattered. She'd given me the means to survive what was coming. Jessica breaks the silence. That changes everything. Vanessa lied to you. Dorothy didn't approve of Ayanna. She wanted to protect you. I nod slowly, but I'm thinking about something else. I'm thinking about how Dorothy, who'd spent her life controlling everyone around her, had made one final play from beyond the grave. She'd given me the house not just as an apology, but as a weapon. But here's what I'm struggling with. Do I accept Dorothy's gift and use it as leverage against Michael? Do I sell the house and walk away clean? Or do I do something nobody expects? Move into the house and build a new life in the space where the Thompson family tried to erase me? What would you do with a $2 million house that your mother-in-law left you specifically to spite her son? What does it feel like to stand your ground in a place where everyone expected you to disappear? I'm standing in the grand foyer of 428, Magnolia Lane, for the first time as its legal owner, and everything looks different when it's yours instead of when you're just the caretaker. The afternoon sun streams through the stained glass window above the door, casting colored patterns across the marble floor, and I'm holding a key that represents not just property but power. It's been 3 days since Mr. Fitzpatrick read Dorothy's will. 3 days since I discovered that the woman who made my life difficult had also given me the tools to remake it. The house smells like furniture polish and the fading scent of Dorothy's lavender sachets, and it feels like a ghost is watching me reclaim space that was never supposed to be mine. Jessica is with me, naturally, along with Pastor David Reynolds from Covenant Presbyterian Church, who'd been Dorothy's spiritual advisor and had become unexpectedly supportive of me since the funeral. He's a warm, grandfatherly African-American man who'd seen through the Thompson family dynamics long before I understood them myself. Dorothy called me the week before she died. Pastor Reynolds tells me as we walk through the house. She wanted to make sure I'd look after you when everything came out. She said, "David, that girl has more faith and strength than anyone in my family, and they're about to test both." His words make my eyes sting because I'm still processing the idea that Dorothy saw me more clearly than I saw myself. We're in the middle of discussing which rooms I should claim as my own space. The master bedroom feels wrong, like I'd be trying to become Dorothy, but one of the guest suites has beautiful morning light. When I hear a car door slam violently outside. Through the window, I see Michael's Mercedes parked haphazardly across the driveway, and he's storming toward the front door with an expression I've never seen before. Pure rage. Vanessa is with him, and they're not here for a friendly visit. "Well," Jessica says, moving to stand beside me, "here we go. You want me to call the police now, or after he does something stupid?" Pastor Reynolds places a calming hand on my shoulder. "You're the homeowner now, Clara. They're on your property." The doorbell rings, then immediately pounds. Michael doesn't wait for me to answer before trying his old key, but the locks have already been changed. Mr. Fitzpatrick was very thorough about that detail. I walk to the door slowly, deliberately, making him wait. Making him remember that he's not in control here anymore. When I finally open it, Michael practically pushes past me, stopping short when he realizes Pastor Reynolds is standing in the hallway. "Clara, what the hell is going on?" Michael demands. "Fitzpatrick called me about the will. He said Mother left you this house." "That's impossible. There's been a mistake." Vanessa pushes in behind him, her expression venomous. "This is family property. You have no right to it." "Actually," I say, and my voice is remarkably calm considering my heart is racing, "I have every right to it. Dorothy left it to me in her will, legally witnessed and completely valid. You're standing in my house now, Michael, and you're here without an invitation." I watch something shift in Michael's face, the realization that the balance of power has fundamentally changed. He's always been able to intimidate me with his confidence, his education, his family's money and position. But right now, in this moment, I'm the one holding all the cards. "This is insane," Vanessa hisses. "Mother would never do this. You must have manipulated her when she was sick, taken advantage of her vulnerability." Pastor Reynolds steps forward, his presence commanding immediate respect. Vanessa, I was present when Dorothy made the final revisions to her will. I was one of the witnesses. She was completely lucid, and she made her intentions very clear. She specifically anticipated that you would contest this decision, and she left detailed testimony about her reasoning. Michael runs his hand through his hair, that gesture of frustration I know so well, but now it just looks like a child throwing a tantrum. Clara, be reasonable. This house has been in my family for generations. You can't seriously expect to just take it. We can work something out. I'll buy it from you at fair market value. Work something out, I repeat, and I'm walking toward Dorothy's study, the room where she'd held court over family decisions for decades. They follow me instinctively, which is interesting. Even though they're furious, they still respond to spatial authority. I sit in Dorothy's chair behind her massive mahogany desk, and the symbolism isn't lost on anyone. Here's what we're going to work out, Michael. I'm keeping the house. I'm going to live in it. And in exchange for me not sharing certain information I've obtained about workplace affairs and corporate ethics violations at Hartwell Financial, you're going to give me a fair divorce settlement. No fighting, no expensive legal battles, just a clean, equitable division of marital assets. Michael's face goes white. You're blackmailing me. I shake my head. I'm protecting myself. There's a difference. Blackmail would be threatening to expose your affair unless you gave me money. This is me simply stating facts. I have evidence of your workplace relationship with a subordinate. I have evidence that you've been lying to HR about conflicts of interest, and I'm willing to keep that information private in exchange for you not making our divorce difficult. That's called negotiation, Michael. I learned it from watching your mother. Vanessa looks like she might actually explode. You little. Careful, Jessica interrupts from the doorway. You're on her property, remember? Anything you say is being recorded. She holds up her phone with a smile. Pastor Reynolds clears his throat. Michael, Vanessa, I think it would be wise for you to leave now and discuss this with your attorneys. Clara has made a reasonable offer. I suggest you consider it carefully. Michael stares at me like he's seeing me for the first time, and maybe he is. Maybe he's finally seeing the woman he married instead of the convenient caretaker he'd reduced me to. Who are you? He asks, and there's genuine confusion in his voice. I don't even recognize you anymore. I stand up, walking around the desk to face him directly. I'm the woman you married 11 years ago, the one who loved you before your mother taught us both that love wasn't as important as appearances. I'm the woman who sacrificed years of her life to care for your family. And I'm the woman you underestimated so badly that you didn't even bother to hide your affair properly. Get out of my house, I say quietly, and there's steel in my voice that surprises even me. Both of you. And Michael, have your attorney call mine. We'll settle this like adults, or I'll settle it like Dorothy would have, with lawyers, publicity, and no mercy whatsoever. Vanessa actually grabs Michael's arm and pulls him toward the door, recognizing that staying will only make things worse. At the threshold, Michael turns back one more time. For what it's worth, Clara, I never meant to hurt you. I just couldn't be who you needed me to be. I consider his words for a moment, then respond with clarity I didn't know I had. The problem, Michael, is that you never bothered to find out who I needed you to be. You just assumed I needed you to be your mother's son. And that was never enough. But here's what nobody tells you about winning. It doesn't erase the hurt, it just gives you the tools to rebuild. And standing in Dorothy's house, my house now, watching my husband leave with his tail between his legs, I realize something important. I don't want revenge. I want something much more difficult. I want to figure out who Clara Thompson is when she's not defined by the people who underestimated her. What would you do if the woman who destroyed your marriage showed up on your doorstep asking for help? I'm 3 glasses of wine deep into celebrating my legal victory with Jessica when the doorbell rings at 8 p.m. I'm not expecting visitors. Pastor Reynolds left hours ago after helping me sage the master bedroom in what he called spiritual reclamation. And Michael's attorney already sent an email agreeing to mediation. Through the security camera Dorothy had installed last year, I see Ayanna Mitchell standing on my porch, and she's not wearing her usual polished confidence. Her mascara is smudged, her hair is disheveled, and she's holding her phone like it's a lifeline. Jessica looks at the monitor and immediately reaches for her own phone. Absolutely not. We're calling the police. She has some nerve showing up here. But something in Ayanna's body language stops me from agreeing. She's not here to fight, she's scared. I watch her glance over her shoulder nervously, checking the street like she's worried someone followed her. Against every instinct of self-preservation, I open the door, though Jessica is practically vibrating with disapproval behind me. Ayana looks up, and her eyes are red from crying. I'm sorry to come here. I know I'm the last person you want to see, but I didn't know where else to go. Michael. Her voice cracks. Michael isn't who either of us thought he was. I should slam the door in her face. I should tell her that her problems with Michael are karma, and she deserves whatever she gets. Instead, I step aside. You have 5 minutes. Ayana walks into the foyer, and I can see her taking in the house, probably imagining herself living here with Michael in some future that will never happen now. Jessica crosses her arms and glares with an intensity that could melt steel. Start talking, I say, leading her to the formal living room but not offering her a seat. If she wants comfort, she can find it somewhere else. Ayana clutches her phone tighter, then holds it out to me. I need you to see something. After you confronted me at the restaurant, I started asking questions. Real questions, not the ones Michael had easy answers for. I hired a private investigator to look into his finances because something wasn't adding up about his stories. I take the phone, and Jessica immediately moves to my side so she can see the screen too. It's a bank statement, but not from any account I recognize. It shows regular deposits of $15,000 twice a month for the past 8 months, coming from something called Belmont Holdings LLC. I don't understand, I say, scrolling through the transactions. What is this? Ayana's voice is hollow. That's Michael's offshore account. Belmont Holdings is a shell company. He's been embezzling from Hartwell Financial for at least 2 years, maybe longer. The investigator found evidence of falsified investment reports, redirected client funds, all sorts of financial fraud. We're talking federal crimes, Clara. Multiple felonies. The room tilts sideways, and I have to sit down. Michael is embezzling? The man who lectured me about balancing our checkbook, who complained when I spent $40 on books, has been stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars? Why are you showing me this? I ask, and my voice sounds strange even to myself. Ayana finally sits too, collapsing into a chair like her legs won't hold her anymore. Because when I confronted him about it 2 hours ago, he didn't deny it. He told me it was all for us, for our future together. He said he was going to take the money and leave the country, and he wanted me to come with him. He's planning to run, Clara. He's going to disappear and leave both of us holding the bag. Jessica starts pacing, her legal mind clearly working through implications. If Michael runs, the authorities will investigate everyone close to him. Clara, they'll freeze your assets, investigate you as a potential accomplice. And Ayana, since you work in his department and you're his girlfriend, they'll assume you knew or were involved. I can't breathe. I just fought for my independence, just claimed Dorothy's house, and thought I was building a new life, and now Michael's criminal activity is about to destroy everything. When is he planning to leave? Jessica demands. Ayana wipes her eyes. His flight to the Cayman Islands is tomorrow night. He has fake documents, a new identity set up, everything. He's been planning this for months. Why didn't you just go to the police? I ask Ayana, and there's no accusation in my voice anymore, just exhaustion. She looks at me with something that might be respect. Because I'm a black woman having an affair with her married supervisor who's stealing money from a major financial institution. Who do you think they're going to believe? I needed someone who has nothing to gain from protecting Michael. Someone who has documentation of being his wife. Someone who can prove she wasn't part of this. I needed you. The irony is so bitter I almost laugh. The woman who slept with my husband needs me to save her from the consequences of trusting him. Jessica stops pacing and looks directly at Ayana. Do you still love him? The question hangs in the air. Ayana's laugh is harsh, broken. I don't know who I loved. The Michael I fell for was charming, ambitious, passionate about his work. But that Michael was a fiction. The real Michael is a criminal who was willing to seduce me as part of his exit strategy. Someone to help him blend in while he established his new life abroad. Someone he could discard once he didn't need the cover anymore. So no, I don't love him. I hate him. Almost as much as I hate myself for being stupid enough to believe his lies. I stand up and walk to the window, looking out at the street where Michael proposed to me with Dorothy's grandmother's ring, promising me a life of partnership and love. Every memory is poisoned now, not just by his affair, but by the realization that I never knew him at all. The man I married, the man I devoted 11 years to, is a stranger who used both Ayana and me as props in his elaborate con. We need to call the FBI, I say finally. If Michael is embezzling and planning to flee, we report it now. Both of us together, before he can make us look complicit. Ayanna nods, relief flooding her face. I have copies of everything: transaction records, falsified reports, correspondence with the offshore banks. My investigator made sure the evidence trail is clear. Jessica is already on her phone, calling her boss at the law firm, who has connections to federal prosecutors. This is going to be ugly, she warns us. The investigation will be invasive, the publicity will be intense, and both of you will be questioned extensively. She looks between Ayanna and me. Are you sure you want to do this? Because once we make this call, there's no taking it back. I look at Ayanna, this woman who was my enemy just hours ago, and I see my own reflection in her exhaustion. We were both fooled by a man who saw us as tools rather than people. I'm sure, I say. Ayanna nods. I'm sure too. But here's what I'm wondering as we wait for Jessica's legal contacts to call back. How do you reconcile helping the woman who slept with your husband? How do you separate your anger at her from your recognition that she's a victim too? And most importantly, am I doing this because it's right, or because I want to watch Michael's perfect facade finally shatter completely? How far would you go to stop someone from destroying you completely? It's 2 a.m., and I'm lying in Dorothy's guest bedroom. I still can't bring myself to sleep in the master suite when I hear glass breaking downstairs. For a moment, I think I'm dreaming, that the stress of the past few hours has manifested into nightmares. But then I hear footsteps, heavy and unsteady, and Michael's voice calling my name. He's in the house. He's drunk or desperate or both, and he's in my house. I grab my phone and immediately text Jessica and dial 911, whispering my address and situation to the operator, while I hear Michael stumbling through the first floor, knocking into furniture, cursing. Clara, Michael shouts from somewhere near the kitchen. I know you're here. I know what you did. You called the FBI? You actually called the fucking FBI. His voice is slurred, ugly, nothing like the composed corporate executive I married. I ease out of bed, staying low, moving toward the hallway where I can see the top of the stairs. He's in the foyer now, and I can see him from above. He's wearing the same suit from earlier, but it's disheveled, his tie hanging loose, and he's holding something in his hand that reflects in the moonlight coming through the stained glass. A bottle. Just a bottle, not a weapon. But the way he's moving, the rage in his voice, makes him dangerous regardless. The police are on their way, Michael. I call down, trying to keep my voice steady. You need to leave. Now. He laughs, and it's a sound I've never heard from him before, bitter and broken. Leave? Where exactly am I supposed to go, Clara? You've destroyed everything. My career, my future, my freedom. The FBI showed up at my apartment an hour ago. They've frozen my accounts, seized my passport, arrested me, and then released me pending investigation. I posted bail and came straight here because this is your fault. All of it. He starts climbing the stairs, unsteady but determined, and I back away from the landing. My fault. I find my voice getting stronger even as I'm backing toward the master bedroom. You embezzled millions of dollars, Michael. You built your entire life on lies and theft. You betrayed me, you used Ayanna, and you were planning to run away and let everyone else deal with the consequences. How is any of that my fault? He reaches the top of the stairs, swaying slightly, and I can smell the alcohol from here. I did everything for us. I built a future so we could have the life we deserved, the life my mother always said we should have. But you were never enough, Clara. You were never sophisticated enough, ambitious enough, interesting enough. Do you know how exhausting it was pretending you were adequate? The words should hurt, but instead, I feel a strange clarity. This is who he's always been. I just couldn't see it past the facade. You're right, I say, and my calmness seems to confuse him. I was never enough for the life you wanted, the life Dorothy demanded. But here's what you never understood, Michael. I didn't want that life. I wanted a real marriage, a genuine partnership, a life built on truth instead of appearances. And you were never capable of giving me that. Somewhere in the distance, I hear sirens. Michael hears them too, and panic flashes across his face. They're going to send me to prison. Federal prison, Clara. Do you understand what that means? What that will do to my life? You did that to yourself, I say. Every choice that led you here was yours. You chose to steal, you chose to lie, you chose to betray everyone who trusted you. I'm not responsible for the consequences of your actions. The sirens are getting louder, and Michael seems to realize that whatever he came here to do, threaten me, convince me, destroy me, isn't going to happen. He sinks down onto the top stair, the fight draining out of him, and for a moment, he looks like a lost child rather than a criminal. I loved you once, he says quietly. In the beginning, before my mother started picking you apart, before the weight of expectations made everything hard. I really loved you. I loved you too, I admit, and there are tears on my face now. But somewhere along the way, we both forgot what love was supposed to look like. We confused obligation with devotion, appearance with truth. And we destroyed each other in the process. The front door bursts open. I'd unlocked it remotely through the security system app. And police officers flood into the foyer, their flashlights cutting through the darkness. Atlanta PD. Hands where we can see them. Michael stands slowly, raising his hands, and I watch as they approach the stairs cautiously. One officer spots me. Ma'am, are you Clara Thompson? Are you hurt? I shake my head. I'm fine. He broke in through the kitchen window. He's drunk, but he didn't hurt me. They take Michael into custody, reading him rights as they handcuff him, and he doesn't resist. As they lead him down the stairs, he looks back at me one final time. I'm sorry, he says, and I think he might actually mean it. I'm sorry for all of it, Clara. You deserved better than what I gave you. I don't respond because there's nothing left to say. The man I married disappeared years ago, replaced by this stranger who sacrificed everything real for things that were never going to make him happy. Jessica bursts through the door moments after the police, having driven like a maniac from her apartment, and she takes the stairs 2 at a time to reach me. Are you okay? Did he hurt you? I let her hold me as we watch them take Michael outside to the patrol car. Neighbors are starting to appear on their porches, drawn by the commotion, and I realize this is going to be all over the news by morning. The Thompson family scandal is about to become public in the most spectacular way. He loved me once. I tell Jessica, my voice hollow. Before everything got twisted, before his mother made us into people we weren't supposed to be, he actually loved me. Jessica pulls back to look at me. And did you love him? I consider the question honestly. I loved who I thought he was. But I don't know if that person ever really existed, or if I just needed to believe he did. An FBI agent arrives 30 minutes later, a professional woman in her 40s named Agent Martinez who sits with me in the living room and goes through everything again. Michael's break-in, his threats, his admission about the embezzlement. She's kind but thorough, and she tells me that Ayana's evidence combined with my testimony creates a solid case. Mr. Thompson is looking at substantial federal charges, she says. Wire fraud, embezzlement, money laundering. He'll likely take a plea deal, but even with that, he's facing significant prison time. I nod, processing this information. The man I married is going to prison. The life I thought I was building is completely destroyed. And somehow I feel lighter than I have in years. But here's what I'm thinking as the sun starts to rise over Dorothy's house. My house now. Sometimes the only way to truly rebuild your life is to watch everything you thought you knew burn to the ground. Michael's arrest doesn't erase the years I lost, but it does give me something I haven't had in a long time. A clean slate. Freedom. And the terrifying, exhilarating question, now what? What if everything you thought you knew about being rejected was actually the opposite? What if you were chosen? I'm sitting in Dorothy's, my kitchen 3 days after Michael's arrest, drinking coffee and reading the Atlanta Journal-Constitution's coverage of the Thompson family scandal. Investment executive arrested for multi-million-dollar fraud scheme. When Vanessa's Mercedes pulls into the driveway, she doesn't pound on the door this time. She rings the bell politely and waits, and when I open it, she looks like she hasn't slept in days. Her perfect hair is pulled back in a messy ponytail. She's wearing jeans instead of her usual designer outfits, and she's not wearing any makeup. Without her armor of perfection, she looks older, smaller, almost human. May I come in? She asks, and her voice lacks its usual imperious tone. She sounds exhausted, defeated. I should say no. I should slam the door in her face the way she's slammed metaphorical doors in mine for years. But curiosity wins, and maybe a little bit of pity, so I step aside and let her enter. She walks into the kitchen like she's never seen it before, touching the counters gently, looking around with an expression I can't quite read. I grew up in this house, she says quietly. Every memory I have of childhood, every moment with my father before he died, happened in these rooms. And Mother left it to you instead of me. I'm not giving it back, I say immediately, because I need to establish that boundary before this conversation goes anywhere else. Vanessa turns to look at me, and there are tears in her eyes. I'm not asking you to. I'm here to apologize and to tell you something you deserve to know. Something about Mother that Michael and I have been keeping from you, from everyone, for years. She sits at the kitchen table without asking permission, and I join her because apparently, this is the day for impossible conversations. Mother had another daughter, Vanessa says, and the words hang in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Before she married our father, before she became Dorothy Thompson, society matriarch. She was Dorothy Jean Crawford, a 19-year-old girl who got pregnant by a man who left her. I sit back, processing this information. Dorothy, with her rigid morality and judgmental perfectionism, had an illegitimate child? What happened to the baby? I ask. Vanessa wipes her eyes. Mother gave her up for adoption in 1957. It was before abortion was legal, before single motherhood was even remotely acceptable, especially not for a girl trying to climb out of poverty. She gave up her daughter, worked 3 jobs, put herself through night school, and eventually met our father at a charity gala where she was serving drinks. She made herself into someone new, someone respectable, and she never looked back. Vanessa pulls out an old photograph from her purse, yellowed with age, showing a teenage girl holding a newborn baby, both looking at the camera with heartbreak in their eyes. Michael and I found this photo and adoption papers when we were cleaning out Dad's office after he died, Vanessa continues. Mother swore us to secrecy. She said that if anyone found out, it would destroy everything she'd built, her reputation, her position in society, her carefully constructed identity. She made us promise we would never tell anyone, never try to find the daughter, never acknowledge that part of her past existed. I look at the young Dorothy in the photo, so different from the woman I knew, and something shifts in my understanding. That's why she was so hard on everyone, I say slowly, working through the implications. She wasn't just demanding perfection from us. She was demanding it from herself, constantly trying to prove she deserved the life she'd built. Vanessa nods. She was terrified that any crack in the facade would expose everything. That's why she controlled every aspect of our lives, why she couldn't accept anything less than perfection. And it's why, she pauses, struggling with the words, it's why she connected with you in ways she never connected with me. I look up sharply. What do you mean? Vanessa's face crumples. You gave up everything to care for her, Clara. Your job, your independence, your life. You sacrificed without expecting anything in return. And I think that reminded her of the sacrifice she made when she gave up her daughter. I think she saw herself in you, the person she might have been if circumstances had been different. She respected you for it, even if she could never say it out loud. The house, I say, understanding clicking into place. She left me the house because you earned it, Vanessa interrupts. Not through bloodline or social position or any of the things she spent her life caring about. You earned it through actual sacrifice and service. You were more her daughter in those final months than I ever was my whole life. I was just a replica she created, a doll she dressed up to reflect her own image. But you were real. The words should feel like victory, but they just feel sad. I think about Dorothy dying with all these secrets, never reconciled with the daughter she gave up, never able to acknowledge the truth of who she was or where she came from. Did she ever try to find her daughter? I ask. Vanessa shakes her head. She said it would be selfish, that the girl had presumably built a life and didn't need a rich old woman showing up claiming to be her birth mother. But in her last week, when she was barely coherent, she talked about her constantly. She kept saying, I need to tell Mary. Someone needs to tell Mary. We didn't know who Mary was until we checked the adoption papers later. That was the name she'd given her baby daughter. The tragedy of it hits me. Dorothy spent her entire life running from her past, building walls of perfection to hide behind, and she died still carrying that grief, that guilt, that unresolved loss. Why are you telling me this? I ask gently. Vanessa wipes her face with the back of her hand, a gesture so uncharacteristic it makes her seem like a different person. Because you deserve to know why Mother did what she did. And because I've spent my entire life trying to be someone I'm not, just like she did, and watching Michael get arrested, watching our family name get destroyed in the press, watching you walk away with the one thing Mother valued most. It made me realize how exhausting it is to live a lie. I'm tired, Clara. I'm so tired of pretending to be the perfect daughter, the perfect society wife, the perfect everything. I just want to be human for once. I reach across the table and take Vanessa's hand, and she grips it like a lifeline. You know what's funny? I say, Dorothy spent her whole life teaching you to be perfect, and she left me her house to teach me that I didn't have to be. We were both prisoners of her expectations, just in different ways. Vanessa laughs through her tears. She was a complicated woman. She was a hurt woman who hurt other people because she didn't know how to heal herself. I correct gently. But maybe we can break that cycle. Maybe we can choose something different. We sit in silence for a while, the morning sun filling Dorothy's kitchen with warm light, and I realize this is the first honest conversation I've ever had with anyone in the Thompson family. But here's what I'm understanding now. Nobody's the villain in their own story. Dorothy was trying to survive the only way she knew how. Vanessa was trying to win love the only way she'd been taught. Even Michael, in his twisted logic, thought he was building a better future. We're all just damaged people doing the best we can with the tools we were given. The question is, can we choose to pick up different tools? 6 months can change everything, or 6 months can change nothing. It all depends on what you choose to do with them. I'm standing in what used to be Dorothy's formal parlor, now transformed into a bright community space with mismatched comfortable furniture and walls painted a warm yellow instead of the oppressive burgundy Dorothy favored. And I'm watching 15 women of various ages participate in the first meeting of the Fresh Start support group. These are women rebuilding their lives after divorce, after loss, after betrayal, and they're here in my house, Dorothy's house that she gave me for exactly this purpose. I think now, learning that they're not alone. Pastor Reynolds stands at the front sharing his wisdom, and Jessica helps coordinate refreshments. And I think about how much has changed since that awful day I discovered Michael's affair. Michael took a plea deal 3 months ago. He's serving 8 years in federal prison for embezzlement and fraud, and I've forgiven him. Not because he deserves it, but because carrying that anger was exhausting. We finalized our divorce without drama. He signed everything my attorney put in front of him, and I walked away with my half of our marital assets plus the house Dorothy left me. It wasn't the fortune Vanessa predicted I'd lose, but it was enough. Enough to start over, enough to build something new, enough to fund this dream of creating a safe space for women who needed to know they could survive their own devastating betrayals. The irony of using Thompson money to empower women Dorothy once judged isn't lost on me. Ayanna sits in the circle too, participating in today's session. We're not exactly friends. There's too much history for that, but we've developed a respectful partnership. She testified against Michael in exchange for immunity, left Hartwell Financial, and now works for a nonprofit helping women enter careers in finance. She's part of Fresh Start's mentorship program, helping women rebuild their professional lives after setbacks. The thing I've learned, she's telling the group now, is that being smart and educated doesn't protect you from making terrible choices in love. I thought I was so sophisticated, so in control, and I walked right into a situation that could have destroyed my life. We all did. But that doesn't define us forever unless we let it. After the session ends, women linger for coffee and conversation, and I move through the groups listening to their stories. There's Sarah, whose husband left her after 23 years for his dental hygienist. There's Kim, who discovered her wife had a secret gambling addiction that destroyed their finances. There's Priya, whose in-laws made her life unbearable until her husband finally chose his mother over his marriage. Each story is unique, but the through line is the same: betrayal, grief, and the slow, painful process of rebuilding. Dorothy's house has become a sanctuary for the broken, which feels like a kind of redemption for all the pain that happened within these walls. I'm in the kitchen cleaning up when the doorbell rings. I'm not expecting anyone, and the session has ended, so I'm surprised to find an older woman on my porch, maybe in her late 60s, with kind eyes and an uncertain smile. She's well-dressed but not ostentatiously so, carrying a worn leather purse, and there's something familiar about her features that I can't quite place. "I'm sorry to disturb you," she says. "My name is Mary Catherine Bradford. I was told this was the Thompson residence." My heart stops. Mary, Dorothy's daughter, the child she gave up 68 years ago. "Please," I say, opening the door wider. "Please come in." We sit in Dorothy's study. I've kept it mostly unchanged because something about this room demands preservation. And Mary explains that she hired a private investigator 6 months ago to find her birth mother. "I was adopted by wonderful people who gave me a beautiful life," she says. "But I always wondered about her, who she was, why she gave me up. It took years of searching, but the investigator finally found the adoption records and traced them to Dorothy Jean Crawford, who became Dorothy Thompson." Her voice catches. "He told me she passed away last year. I'm too late." I take her hand gently. "I'm so sorry. But she thought about you. In her final days, she kept saying your name. She never forgot you." Mary's eyes fill with tears. Did she have a good life? Was she happy? I consider lying, making Dorothy's life sound better than it was. But Mary deserves the truth. She built a successful life, raised 2 children, was respected in her community. But I don't think she was happy. I think she carried the grief of losing you her entire life, and it made her hard, controlling, afraid to be vulnerable. She hurt people, including herself, because she never forgave herself for the choice she made. Mary nods slowly, processing. That makes sense. The investigator told me she was 19, unmarried, from a poor family. She probably thought she had no choice. She didn't, I agree. And she spent the rest of her life trying to prove she deserved better than the judgment society placed on young women in her situation. We talk for hours. I show Mary photographs of Dorothy, tell her stories about her personality, her strengths and flaws, her final months. I give her the letter Vanessa had kept, the one Dorothy wrote to Mary but never sent, full of explanations and apologies and love that was never expressed in life. Mary reads it with tears streaming down her face, and when she finishes, she looks around the study with new eyes. This is a beautiful house, she says. She built something lasting. She did, I agree. And she left it to me to transform into something new. Would you like to see what I've done with it? I show her the bright parlor, explain the Fresh Start program, introduce her to the women who've stayed late to help clean up. Mary listens to their stories, sees the healing happening in these rooms, and she starts crying again. My mother would have hated this, Mary says with a laugh that's half sob. A house full of divorced women supporting each other, talking openly about pain and failure? It's everything she spent her life hiding from. Maybe, I say. Or maybe this is what she would have built if she'd been brave enough to face her own pain instead of running from it. Maybe this is what she was trying to give me permission to create when she left me this house. Mary turns to me, really looking at me for the first time. Who are you exactly? How did you know my mother? I explain everything. My marriage to Michael, caring for Dorothy, the will, the divorce, the decision to transform the house into this sanctuary. Mary listens with an expression of wonder. So she saved you, Mary says softly. In her own complicated way, she saved you from the life that was destroying you. I consider this. We saved each other, I think. She gave me the resources to rebuild, and I'm giving her legacy a kind of redemption. All the control and judgment she used as armor, I'm transforming it into compassion and community. Maybe that's what healing looks like. Not erasing the past, but using its lessons to build something better. Mary hugs me then, this stranger who's somehow family, and I feel Dorothy's presence in the house for the first time since she died. Not the stern matriarch who controlled everything, but the frightened teenage girl who gave up her daughter and spent her life trying to atone. So here's what I've learned in the 6 months since my world fell apart. Sometimes the life you thought you wanted was actually a cage you didn't know you were trapped in. Sometimes betrayal is actually liberation in disguise. Sometimes the people who hurt you are also the people who save you. And sometimes saving yourself means accepting help from the most unlikely sources. Dorothy gave me this house, but she also gave me something more important. She gave me permission to stop living for other people's expectations and start building a life that's authentically mine. And that, it turns out, is worth more than any inheritance. So tell me your story. Have you ever had a betrayal that turned into the best thing that could have happened to you? Have you ever discovered that the people you thought were villains were actually just broken people doing their best? Drop your stories in the comments because we're all in this messy, complicated journey together. And if this story resonated with you, if Clara's journey from devastation to empowerment spoke to something you're going through or have been through, hit that subscribe button and share this with someone who needs to hear that there's life after betrayal, hope after heartbreak, and power in choosing to rebuild on your own terms. Clara chose to turn her pain into purpose, her inheritance into impact, and her ending into a beginning. What will you choose? Thank you for being part of Clara's journey. Now go build your own.